Yo, what is good? My anime people. Did someone call for a dragon slayer? My anime people. What's good, everybody? We have another episode of this interesting dragon wannabe slaying show where the dragon is not really in the wrong at this point in the case of being a human that was transformed because of some sword accidentally discharging, which I don't believe for 1 minute, man. Someone as talented as this girl that we are learning more and more about, it just is coming more and more as an inconvenience, or it feels like a lie, more or less, that they were told, or that this sword discharged on itself. I have a bad feeling about all of this. Like when my bad feeling starts tingling, it tingles and it don't stop. And I learn things that I probably would have learned, later on in the show maybe, and I start to guess. So my big thought process slash guess is that the person who did not like these kids, the person who did not care for this classroom of, really talented people, really talented students that were being trained. There was another class teacher that seemingly always has these scenes of just being, um, I was gonna say jealous, but I don't know. Jealousy is the exact word. He's like envious, and not only he's envious in a bad way because it feels like he would do something bad to these students that have not only caused a crap ton of trouble. We're talking about one student in particular having to write like 50 apology notes for using too much power or going overboard and maybe destroying stuff. Just imagine having to write some paper up apologizing for using the thing that they're trying to train you to be good at using. And because you're using it the way you're using it, it's not you're like in the wrong, So I thought that was hilarious. The other thing is, with everything going on in this show, I feel as if a lot of people have already kind of made their interesting like notions of why they might stop watching and stuff like that. It's always interesting to me. Okay, I'm dead, lady. Uh, it's always interesting to me to see what people like don't like in shows and what they do like in shows, because sometimes they will straight up get everything they wanted, right? They'll get everything they wanted in the show, but for some odd reason, they'll still use it as like a good talking point of what they don't like in a show, like what they did wrong, but it's something they almost like asked for in one show, and because it's a little bit different in the next show and they do the same thing, like, oh, either you copied or it's just trash, right? Like it's just not as good as what I've seen other people do with this. And I feel like this show has a lot of those types of tropes in it where these things have been done before. It's just, is this show going to be unique with the things that are happening? Is it going to fall very flat on its face? Because the one thing that I didn't understand is how our main character is going to end up with his people. Like, for instance, it looked like he has his own group of people he travels with and not these sorcerers of the Tower of Fangs that he doesn't like, right? Like, he wasn't traveling with them, in my opinion, on the open in their song, I believe it is. But here he is traveling with them now, so clearly something's probably going to go wrong with this whole situation. Uh, I also feel like a lot of people can read the situation as well when it comes down to someone, uh, stopping the progress of what was going to happen this week. He straight up stopped the process of the dragon being slain in their eyes. Like, they don't even know if the attacks they're doing are strong enough to absolutely obliterate her. But the way the main character has stopped these attacks twice now, it does feel like they're capable of destroying her. But with her holding this sword now, it comes to the like another reasoning, like, why is this dragon going after a sword that created her. Does she have her own mind in there? And if she does, how much control does she actually have while she's in this form? Because clearly she knew she was going to transform. That's why she was telling her friend not to look at her and that he should get away, and all this stuff. So now I'm at the conclusion to believe that anything that kind of transpires afterwards, in the case of him traveling with these people, and for some reason in the previews it looked like he even he obtained the sword that the dragon was holding. So as it looks now, we're gonna get quite a fast paced like episode next week. It feels like he's gonna get the sword somehow. He's gonna have both the kid and the blonde haired girl with them. It looks like they like straight up leave the town and maybe follow him or something. I don't know. But that's the type of stuff that I'm talking about, is when shows like this are introduced and they kind of just jump to different things quickly. I think a lot of people sometimes lose faith in the show being good, or a show being um, built up. Like you can't just throw people into certain things. Sometimes they want to be built up to care. They want to be built up to understand why certain things are happening so they can care that much more. And I feel like this is one of these situations where we've seen, if they don't put as much care into these characters or into the story, why do we care about this girl that's been turned into a dragon? Or are we going to be on the case of, oh man, I wish you would just kill her and get it over with, and then the show will be over? It's like, yikes, man. Like, we don't know much about the girl, but every episode now we're learning more about her and what made her such a great sorcerer and what made her friends with this guy in general. And one of those things that has me very concerned about her in general and this sword that went off is she's so good at black sorcery and white sorcery, which is very rare indeed. And the person that I was telling you doesn't really care for all of these kids in this class that Orphen knows. Like, all of his buddies that were in class were pretty much his family members at one point. Like, they're all just different siblings. They all had different personalities. They all like to do different stuff, and they all like to be annoying at times. So it felt like the perfect little family group that he had going. And for 5 years, he's been searching for that dragon. And like he said, he almost gave up on her. So there's these weird notion of, like, what in the heck is he going to do against all these sorcerers if it keeps coming down to him needing to fight against them to protect the dragon? And what is also going to happen uh, in the story narratively if he can't change her back, but come to find out she's actually there. Like, she's actually in control more than we actually know, and she just can't state it. And by grabbing the sword, it may be her one way of coming back by uncharging her magic back into it or something. I don't know. I really do like the show in the case of just the mystery part. Like, we have a kid that, hates everybody that he grew up with simply because they want to forget about this girl and wipe her from existence and bury her, when they didn't even have her body because it turned into a dragon. And that was just to save face, save reputation for themselves, and not really care about this girl who was, if not the most powerful in the case of, excuse me, I got the hiccups out of nowhere. Um, she was the most powerful when it came down to doing multiple spells and just carefree. She seemed like a very gentle person as a whole. So, hold on. Sorry about that. So, to know that they are chasing down this dragon that has turned from this very nice, gentle being to this dragon who, I'm not sure if we heard it about any kill counts, right? Like, she showed up into this castle, stole a sword, and didn't kill anybody. She did shoot her fire blast at her character, but it was easily taken care of. So I think that's the only other thing I wanted to talk about, is how the power is kind of being handled with the main character and the dragon and everybody else. He seemingly can put a cap on anybody. He kind of downgrades himself. He's like, I'm only a high rank because she didn't take the test, because she didn't want to do that because it was pointless to her. So because it was pointless to her, I had a better chance of being an elite. That's the only reason why I'm here. But then you flip that same interesting conversation and then put in the narrative of the 2 episodes we have. Him stopping multiple sorcerers twice. You know, they all shooting their own special magic that we see are as powerful, but we also saw that the teacher himself, right? The teacher actually could just stop all of his students. The teacher nullified everybody's magic that practically was going against him. So it didn't really matter in the case of like, oh, one of my students tries to attack me, I can beat them all. But all of his students plus him or something like that were attacking this dragon, and he stops all of their magic at the same time and then does it again, and now he's also stopped the power of the dragon very easily with no casualties or like destruction. He like caught it and destroyed it at the same time. So that's the type of stuff that is very interesting to me, is him not really appreciating his own power because he's so focused on trying to help others, and he remembers how ridiculously powerful she was. So he already knows that he could not beat her, which just gives us more of a perspective on how powerful this dragon should be with her power attached to it. So when he's over here trying to save her, he is definitely making more of a threat in the world than he's actually trying to save, almost, if she can't be changed back. But regardless of all that, I hope you guys are having an amazing day, night, evening, whatever the case may be when you're watching this. I am your boy, the Anime G, and I definitely will be talking to you as soon as possible. So with all that being said, take care, and I brought in Guts to slay us a dragon, but I don't think the main character will be too happy about that, so we'll see how all this turns out. Definitely let me know in the comments down below if you're enjoying this show, if you think this episode is much slower than the first one, if you enjoy getting this information we did, all that good stuff. And to the person who's kind of sad that this show got animated too, I'm sorry. I saw your comment today and I replied to you, but at the same time, all anime and manga, or all manga and light novels and all that stuff, must be created into anime. Japanese people want it, so it shall be. But yeah, with that, my anime people, take care and peace.